Hi, this is going to be a video that will follow up the previous video on creating the kind of the store layout with some JavaScript, and this video will add a shopping cart. So in the previous video, I had made this example here called the store example, right? And it looks like this. Okay, so I have these store items in here, and there's a button in the corner here. I should change the color on that, but when I click on this, it shows a shopping cart, and you can close the shopping cart, and you can click on a product, and the product opens in a window, and you can close it. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to add an Add to Cart button in here, so we can click on that, and it will add this product to the shopping cart, and then we will see that product in the shopping cart. Okay, so what we're going to do first is, what I'm going to do first anyway, is I'm going to duplicate this project. Okay, so I just start with a new one. So I have this copy of the original, and so I'll just duplicate that folder, and I'll change the name here to with cart. Okay, so this one has the cart. Okay. And so the first thing we need to do after we've got our project set up is we need to create some JavaScript to run the cart. I have another video all about the shopping cart, and actually I have the files for that here in one of these folders. One of these guys, I guess this one has shopping cart in it. But what I'll do, I think, for this example is I'll just make the shopping cart from scratch, okay? But I already did this. I have another video, a whole series, maybe 30 videos or something that all cover just talking about the shopping cart in basic JavaScript. So you can review those videos, and you can even use the shopping cart from those videos in this example. But for this example, I'll just make a simple cart to get started with, okay? So I'm going to work with the files in this folder. So what I like to do is I like to take the folder and drag it on top of brackets, and then it will open up those files here in the sidebar in brackets, and I can edit everything in the folder, okay? So the first thing I'll do is I'll make a brand new file, and I'll save it into the store example with cart, and what we're going to do is we're going to call this the cart.js, okay? And maybe I'll even do this here. I'll make a folder in here, and I'll call it JS, and I'll move all of my JavaScript into this folder. So this cart.js file is going to be a JavaScript file that contains only the JavaScript that deals with the cart. Okay, so it only the JavaScript in here is only the JavaScript that works with the shopping cart system. So nothing that deals with the page. This isn't even going to handle the add to cart button or anything like this. It'll only be just the JavaScript to, save items when you add them to the cart, remove items from the cart, count the items in the cart and all that stuff, okay? So we'll call it cart.js. I'll put it in the JS folder here. And you know what I think I'll do too is I'll move this jQuery file into the folder too. I'll have to update my path for that. But anyway, there we go, right? So I got all that stuff there. And then let's go to our file here, index.html. And I'll scroll to the bottom here, and you can see I've got script is jQuery blah blah blah. Let me change this. I'm gonna just delete that whole thing and type in source equals, and then you can see that brackets is going to give me the path here, and I'll choose the JS folder, and then I'll choose jQuery 2.03 min. Now, you could link to jQuery on the CDN if you want. I was working on this on the bus, so, or at the cafe, and I didn't have any Wi-Fi, so I just used this file that I had on my hard drive locally, but you could use any copy of jQuery. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another script tag, and I'll type the source attribute. I'll go to the JS folder, and I'll get cart.js. Okay, so there we go. So we want to load jQuery first, followed by cart, and then the script here, the script tag here is going to handle all of the kind of the local JavaScript that deals with stuff on this page, okay? That'll keep our scripts organized. Okay, so let's go over to our cart.js, and we'll edit cart.js, and there's nothing in here right now. So I'll just put a comment at the top that says cart.js, and that'll remind us what file this is. Okay, so our shopping cart is going to store all of the cart, all the items that you might add to your shopping cart in an array called cart. Okay, so I'll just make a brand new array. So I got a variable called cart, and I set it equal to the square brackets, which makes it an empty array. Okay, so next, I need a function to add an item to the cart. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll make a function here, call it add item. And when you add an item to the cart, you're going to need to tell this function what type of item it is. So just to keep things simple, my cart here is going to create items that look like this. They'll look like a JavaScript object, and they'll have a name, you know, like Apple. They'll have a price, like 99 cents. And then they'll have a count. So this will say like how many you have. So I have one apple in my cart. Okay, so this is what you know, what cart items are going to look like. So everything we put in here, each item is going to be an object that looks like this. Okay, so what we need to know is we need to know the name of the item, the price of the item, and the count. And now this is a pretty simple system. If you really want to make a real cart, we got to do a little more work than this. But this is just to show you how JavaScript works and to make something that's functional in the page. Okay, don't expect to, you know, write the website for Target using this system. Okay, but you know if you start here, maybe in the future you could write the website for Target. Okay, but anyway, so here we go. We've got our name, price, and count. So what I need to do is I'm going to make an item. So I'm going to say var item, and I'm inside the function here. And I'll say var item is, and then I'll put the curly brackets there, and we'll say name. That's this name here. And then we'll say name after it, which is this name, right? The variable that you passed in, so it could be any name. And then I'll put a comma there, and we'll say price, which is, you know, this price right here, the key. And then we'll follow it with a colon, and we'll type price, which is this price here, the variable, so that'll be the value. And then we'll type in count, right? And we'll type in the count here, right? So this is the same thing. We got count is our key, and then colon, we have count, which is the value that you passed in. I use the same names here, which might look confusing at first, but actually, when you understand how JavaScript works, this is convenient for me because I know which name goes with which key value, right? So anyway, so we got that. So now let's imagine a couple things here. So, you know, what I want to do after this really is I want to say, you know, cart.push, and then I want to push the item into the cart. So this push method adds a new item to the end of the array, okay? So this is our first naive approach, and this works okay, but we have a couple things. So if you included a count, then you know, we've got the count here, but if you didn't include a count, then we might have a problem, okay? If our cart contains an item named Apple, and then we add another item named Apple, then we run into a problem also, because, you know, we don't want to create two items in the cart named Apple. Instead, we just want to increase the count of apples in the cart, okay? So for the first problem, let's just assume that people send in the correct information. So we're sending in just assume that this name, price, and count is correct, okay? You know, we might want to validate it at some point, but let's just assume for now that this is going to be correct. So our other problem still needs to be solved. If there's an apple in the cart or two apples in the cart and we add another one, then we just need to increase the count rather than pushing a new item in the cart. So what we're going to do is we're going to say for, and then we're going to loop through all the items in the cart. So we'll look at each item in the cart, and if the name matches an item in the cart, then we know that that item already exists, okay? If you're making a more robust cart, you know, you might give each product an ID rather than just using the name here, okay? So like I said, this is a little bit simplified, okay? So first of all, our loop, we need to look at each item in the cart. So I'm going to say for I in cart, okay? For var I in cart. So this is going to loop once. All the code in the code block here will be executed once for each item that we have in the array cart. Okay, and then I will be the index of each item. So we can access each item this way. We can say cart bracket I. Okay, and this will represent each item in the cart in turn. And if we want the name of an item, we can say, you know, dot name. Okay. And you know, now what we want to do is we want to ask, we want to say like, hey, does this name equal the name here? Right? So if we look at each item in the cart, you know, maybe there's an item that looks like this, and you passed in the name apple to add a new apple to the cart, and then we can see that, you know, cart bracket I is this object, dot name gives us the key value here, name, which is apple, and then it will match apple here, and then we know that an apple already exists in the cart. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all this in an if statement. So I'll say if parentheses, I'll put the parentheses here, and then the curly braces. So if this statement is true, we've found an item in the cart with the same name as the item that you're adding. Okay, so in that case, what we'll do is we'll say cart bracket I dot count plus equals the count of the item. So, you know, if you added one more item here, one more apple, and an apple exists, then we're going to increase the count here, right, count to 4, okay? And then if we found an item in the cart, there shouldn't be a duplicate, because we're going through this hoop here to make sure that we don't have any duplicates. So in that case, we'll just say return. So this return right here actually ends the function, and it will also stop the loop. So once we find an item in the cart, we don't need to loop all the way through the rest of the items, okay? And then by ending the function here, we do not complete the function, and we do not do the code at the bottom, okay? Now, if we get through the entire cart and we don't find anything with the same name, right? If the names don't match, then we go to the very bottom here and we push the new item into the cart, okay? So anyway, so there's our cart there. So we'll just use this add item method just to get started here, just to help us out, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to link. We've already linked to this JavaScript, but now let's see if we can actually use this, okay? So so what we'll do is we'll go to index.html, and I'm going to go to the script tag at the very bottom of the page. So this is my closing HTML and body tag down here. And then I've got, you know, my jQuery and my cart.js, and then here's my script tag where I'm writing the script for this page in here, right? And these things here handle, you know, popping up the product. So I'll put a little line in here, you know, just to remind me that that's some other JavaScript that we're not going to deal with, right? And then this is where the cart JavaScript is going to go, okay? So before we do anything else, we got to do a couple things to our page, but our JavaScript's going to go here. Let's do, you know, handle, let's call this handle add to cart, okay? So there we go. So that's going to happen here, okay? So first of all, we need to, I forgot, we need to add a button to add items to the cart. Now, when I'm looking through my my page, this thing here that says product details, right? This is the thing that we're seeing, like when I click here, this div with the name of the product, the picture, the description, and the price, and the close button and stuff. All of this is inside of this div right here. Okay, so for each product, there's one of these blocks, okay, right? And then you can see there's the H1 right there, and then I have it followed by a paragraph, and then followed by the price, right? So so what I'm gonna do, I think, is right here below the paragraph, I think I'll add an anchor tag. Actually, you know, I probably need a paragraph, and then I'll put an anchor inside the paragraph. Okay? And for the link for the anchor, I'm just going to make it the hash mark, okay? And the text will be add to cart. Okay, and we'll have to add one of these to each one of the products. So I have 3 products, so I'll have to add 2 more to the products down here. You know, the next one would go right here. But why don't we do this? We'll get the first one working, and then we can just add the other ones, right? So we got a couple things. Like when you click this link, I need to know that you're clicking this link. Okay, so what that means is I probably need to have a way to identify this link, and we could use an ID or a class name. If we use an ID, I need a unique ID for every link, but I'm going to have at least 3 links, and if I add more products, every product will have a link. So it's probably better that I use a class name here. So I'll use class, and I'll name it add to cart. Okay? So the next thing I need to know is when you click on the add to cart link, this button needs to know which item to add to the cart. It needs to know the name of the product and the price of the product. Okay? So there's a couple ways you could handle this. I'm going to take this route. I'm going to add an attribute here, data name, right? And so if you recall from your basic HTML, attributes are these little elements here that have a attribute name followed by the equals and then the value. And the value is always inside the quotation marks. So here's another one, class equals and then, you know, value, right? Class equal or attribute name equals and then this value, right? And you can make up any name you like for the attribute name, but the standard or best practice is that for, you know, developer, you know, generated names, they should begin with data and then dash. Okay, I'll zoom in on that, right? So it should be data and then dash or the hyphen and then the name. Okay, so I'm going to do data name and then the name of this product is Fuzzface. Okay, and then I'll do data price and the price will be $400,000. Okay. And, you know, when I put the price in here, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to put the $sign, okay? And I'm just going to make it a number, but it's still got to be in the quotation marks, okay? Don't use the comma, you know, to format the number, right? We just need a raw number. I could probably just leave that off, and that's in JavaScript. That's the same as this anyway, right? Okay? So that's set up pretty good, right? Let's do one other thing here. Let's copy this paragraph. Okay, I'm going to make sure I get the whole thing all the way to the closing p tag there, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my next product here, right? And I'll paste that name in there. And then I'm going to change the attributes, right? So this one's called, wait, they're all called Fuzzface. Wait, this one should be called something else. Let's call this one Ugly Face, right? And so I'll change the name here to Ugly Face, right? And the price maybe needs to be something different. Let's make this one $256,000. Okay, so then I'll change the name here to 250. All right, what was it? 200, and then 200,560. Okay. There we go. So now we'll go down the last one here. So here's my last one, right? Div C. I got the product details. I got the close button. Oh, this one's also called Fuzzface. I guess I got to change the name. Let's paste our paragraph with the anchor tag in it. And let's change the description here too. We'll call it Super Booster Thing. Makes you louder. Okay, and then we'll call this one, okay, something like that, right? And then I'll change the name here to, and then maybe I'll change the price. Maybe this one's only worth 101, right? So I'll change this guy to 1. Something like that, right? You know, I'm just putting the numbers in here kind of randomly right now, but you could make them better, okay? So anyway, so there we go, right? So let's do one thing here and then we'll finish, and then I'll make another video and we'll complete it, right? So what I need to do here is I need to know when you are tapping or clicking on one of those links, right? So what we'll do is we'll add the jQuery selector here, and what we want to do is we want to add a click action for all the elements that have the class name add to cart. Okay, so we'll do click, oops. So we'll make it look like this, you know, add to cart. Don't forget the dot, right? Because it's class name. And then we'll do dot click. And then this is handled by using a function. So we'll say, you know, event. I'm going to put the event in here too, right? And now we'll handle it. So what we'll do just for now to see if it's working is we'll do console log, and then we'll say, you know, add to cart. And then if I see this in the console, I know that, you know, you've clicked on the button. Okay, so we'll save that, and then I'm going to go over here to this thing. Is that the right one? Let me make sure I got the right file there. I think that's the wrong one. I'm going to load this one here into the browser there. And then if I click, you can see there's my add to cart button. And if I click on this one, you can see there's add to cart, right? So I got that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the inspector here, get the console, right? So I can see in here what's happening, and then I'll click on this and I'll click add to cart. Oh, look, it says add to cart, right? And then if I close that and click on one of these other ones and then click add to cart, you can see it says add to cart. It actually just counts them, so now it says 2 instead of 1, right? So anyway, so there we go. So that's pretty good. So if you've gotten that far, then you're set. I don't know why Safari does this red flash when you have the inspector open. It's rather annoying. I don't know. I think it's part of the inspector to show you what is happening, but it's really actually kind of annoying. It's not that helpful. But anyway, hopefully that is good for you and you got this far. Thanks for watching.